Within first 7 seconds, your brain decides if someone is sexually magnetic, long before logic or morals ever join the room. Before you even exchange words, your limbic system floods with dopamine, testosterone, and adrenaline. Chemical lightning bolts sparking a feeling we call instant attraction. It's not romance. It's not destiny. It's biology. Ancient circuitry designed to keep our species alive, not to guarantee your happiness. That sudden pull you feel toward a stranger, it's the same survival mechanism that once helped our ancestors detect fertile mates across a firelit crowd. Lust feels personal, but it's actually prehistoric. And the scariest part? Your conscious mind doesn't even get a vote. Imagine standing inches away from someone and feeling your pulse spike for no reason you can name. That rush isn't magic, it's chemistry. When you feel an overwhelming surge of attraction, your brain releases a potent trio of chemicals: dopamine, testosterone, and adrenaline. Dopamine feeds anticipation and pleasure, the same neurotransmitter that fires when you win or chase a reward. Testosterone heightens sexual motivation and confidence, pushing you to pursue. Adrenaline floods your bloodstream, speeding your heart and sharpening your senses until that person seems to glow. Here's the kicker. This chemical cocktail isn't designed for love. It's designed for reproduction. Your body interprets lust as survival. It makes you chase intensity because nature knows intensity keeps genes alive. That's why lust feels so powerful, because it's supposed to override reason. As neuroscientist Helen Fisher explains, lust activates the same brain circuits that drive hunger and thirst. You don't think about desire, you feel it claw through your body like instinct. The problem? Biology doesn't care if that person is good for you. It only cares that you act. So, we end up mistaking biochemical urgency for emotional destiny. That's why lust can burn through red flags as if they don't exist. Your brain literally suppresses critical thinking in the moment. It's the evolutionary version of tunnel vision. But once you recognize it, you can use it. That pulse, that thrill, it's not a soulmate indicator. It's a signal that your system is online. Instead of obeying it blindly, pause and observe. Ask yourself, is this connection or just chemistry? Awareness turns impulse into power. Lust is instinct, not intuition. The next time you feel an overwhelming spark, don't chase or shame it, study it. It's your biology whispering, not your destiny calling. Why do some people instantly feel right, even when logic says they shouldn't? We call it chemistry, but it's often something deeper: emotional familiarity. Your subconscious is constantly scanning faces, voices, and behaviors, comparing them to the emotional blueprint etched in your early years. When someone matches those patterns, comforting or chaotic, your body recognizes it as home. That's the illusion. The pull you feel isn't fate, it's repetition. Psychologists describe this as repetition compulsion, the human tendency to recreate old emotional dynamics, hoping this time the story will end differently. So, if love once meant inconsistency, you might confuse anxiety for passion. If affection felt conditional, you may find yourself drawn to people who make you prove your worth. That's not attraction, it's unfinished business. Neuroscience supports this too. The amygdala, your brain's emotional memory hub, lights up when someone mirrors familiar cues, tone, body language, even scent. It's like a lock recognizing its old key. No wonder we say, it just clicked. But clicking doesn't mean compatibility, it means recognition. Here's the paradox. Chemistry feels like connection, yet often it's nostalgia disguised as love. The excitement comes from predictability, not possibility. When someone doesn't trigger your old patterns, when they feel calm instead of chaotic, you might overlook them, mistaking peace for boredom. But calm is where secure love begins. Familiar isn't always safe. It's just known. Don't chase chemistry. Trace it. Ask, what does this feeling remind me of? Awareness turns, why am I drawn to them? Into, what am I trying to heal? Desire versus love, the hidden conflict. Picture this. Your phone buzzes, and it's a message from the person you can't stop thinking about. Your stomach flips, your pulse races, and for a split second the world narrows down to their name on your screen. That's desire, raw, electric, consuming. But when the novelty fades, when you've memorized their stories and quirks, that fiery rush cools. What remains, if anything, is love. Desire and love are not the same emotion. They're two different operating systems running on the same hardware. Desire is fueled by dopamine and anticipation, by the thrill of pursuit. It feeds on uncertainty, imagination, and distance. Love, on the other hand, grows through oxytocin and trust, through repeated experiences of safety and consistency. The same chemical spark that ignites passion often resists routine, and the comfort that nurtures love can feel like boredom to the dopamine-hungry brain. That's why relationships often feel like a tug of war between excitement and peace. One side craves intensity, the other craves security. The truth is, both are necessary. Desire gives love its spark. Love gives desire its roots. But when we confuse one for the other, chaos follows, because we expect passion to behave like permanence. Psychotherapist Esther Perel puts it simply, love enjoys knowing the other, desire thrives on mystery. The challenge is to balance both, to let closeness coexist with curiosity. This means occasionally stepping back, maintaining individuality, and allowing space for surprise. Love deepens when both partners keep discovering each other. Desire seeks novelty. Love seeks safety. Both crave balance. Stop treating comfort as the enemy of passion. The strongest bonds are those where love stabilizes desire, and desire keeps love alive. The brain on rejection. Here's a cruel irony. Your brain reacts to rejection the same way it reacts to physical pain, and yet, that pain can make you crave the rejecter even more. Functional MRI scans show that when we feel rejected, the anterior cingulate cortex lights up, the same region activated when you burn your hand or stub your toe. Emotional pain literally hurts, but that's only half the story. Rejection also spikes dopamine, the very neurotransmitter linked to desire and reward. The brain, confused, begins to associate longing with the person who caused the pain. It's why heartbreak can feel addictive. The more unavailable someone becomes, the more our reward circuits fire. It's biology's glitch, a desperate loop of pursuit and disappointment. The system designed to motivate survival accidentally reinforces emotional suffering. That's why people keep checking texts that never come, or replaying memories like they might change the ending. Psychologist Guy Winch calls this the withdrawal phase of rejection. The mind keeps searching for the missing emotional fix, much like an addict craving a substance. But awareness can break the loop. When you catch yourself romanticizing the person who hurt you, remember, it's not love, it's chemical withdrawal. What you're feeling is your brain begging for regulation, not reunion. In that sense, rejection can be transformative. It forces you to confront your dependency on external validation and rebuild your self-worth from the inside out. Pain becomes data. Healing becomes choice. Rejection hurts, but it also reveals what still needs healing. When the urge to chase what left you rises, pause. Your worth isn't waiting in someone else's acceptance. It's stored in your ability to self-soothe, to choose peace over pain. The attachment blueprint. Think back to your very first experience of love. It probably wasn't romantic. It was the way a caregiver looked at you, comforted you, or maybe didn't. That early emotional wiring became your attachment blueprint, silently scripting how you seek love today. You don't choose your attachment style. It's chosen for you long before you know what love even means. Psychologist John Bowlby called attachment the lasting psychological connectedness between human beings. From the moment we're born, our brains calibrate to the emotional environment around us. If care was consistent, we learn that closeness is safe. That's secure attachment. If affection was unpredictable, we internalize anxiety. Love equals uncertainty. That's anxious attachment. And if closeness led to disappointment or rejection, we may learn to rely only on ourselves. That's avoidant attachment. Here's the twist. Each style isn't a label. It's a coping mechanism. An anxious person clings not because they're needy, but because connection once meant survival. An avoidant person distances not from lack of feeling, but from fear of loss. Both are strategies born from love gone uncertain. The good news? Blueprints aren't blue walls. You can rewrite them. Research shows that consistent, emotionally safe relationships can literally rewire attachment responses over time. Self-awareness accelerates this. Recognizing when you're chasing reassurance or withdrawing from vulnerability gives you the power to respond instead of react. Your past wrote the code, but you hold the keyboard now. Notice your patterns, not your partner's. Healing begins when you stop asking, "Why do they make me feel this way?" and start asking, "What in me keeps responding this way?" Ever notice how the people who trigger your deepest insecurities are often the ones you can't stop thinking about? It's not coincidence, it's psychology. The human brain confuses emotional intensity with emotional importance. When someone makes us feel anxious, uncertain, or desperate for validation, the body floods with cortisol and dopamine, the exact same mix that drives addiction. You don't just want the person. You want relief from the chemical chaos they create. This is how trauma repetition disguises itself as passion. Your subconscious doesn't seek joy. It seeks familiarity. If love once felt unstable, your brain interprets that instability as love's natural rhythm. You start mistaking anxiety for chemistry and peace for disinterest. You chase the high, not realizing it's just pain wrapped in nostalgia. Neuroscience backs this up. Unpredictable rewards, think mixed signals or hot and cold behavior, create the strongest dopamine spikes. It's the same mechanism that keeps gamblers pulling the lever, waiting for the next hit. Emotionally, we pull that lever through unanswered texts, inconsistent affection, and one-sided effort. Breaking the cycle means redefining what excitement feels like. Real love doesn't cause constant adrenaline, it creates calm clarity. That calm may feel foreign at first, even dull. But that's because peace has no withdrawal symptoms. If love feels like chaos, it's not passion, it's programming. Stop chasing emotional intensity and start building emotional safety. Peace isn't the absence of chemistry, it's the presence of healing. The power of scarcity. It's strange, isn't it? The moment someone pulls away, your attraction intensifies. They text less, you think more, they become unavailable, and suddenly they seem irreplaceable. That's not emotional weakness, it's neurochemical design. Scarcity triggers desire. The brain's reward system doesn't just chase pleasure, it chases potential. When something feels just out of reach, dopamine spikes, creating obsession. Behavioral economist Dan Ariely calls this the scarcity principle. When opportunities appear limited, their perceived value skyrockets. It's the same force that drives auction frenzies or limited edition marketing. In love, it turns distant partners into emotional jackpots. That's why inconsistent affection is so intoxicating. The uncertainty keeps you hooked, because your brain is trying to solve the mystery of connection. But that mystery often isn't chemistry, it's confusion. The less someone gives, the more your mind fills in the blanks, idealizing what's missing. The danger is that we start associating longing with love, mistaking scarcity for depth. The healthiest relationships flip this logic. When consistency replaces unpredictability, the brain relaxes, letting genuine attraction deepen through trust. Passion isn't lost, it evolves. It moves from adrenaline-fueled chase to oxytocin-driven connection, from scarcity to stability. Scarcity fuels craving, but consistency sustains connection. If someone's absence excites you more than their presence calms you, that's not chemistry, it's conditioning. Real desire grows where you're met, not where you're missing. The paradox of choice. If dating apps promise endless possibilities, why do more choices leave us lonelier than ever? We scroll through hundreds of profiles, yet satisfaction declines. Psychologists call this choice overload, when abundance paralyzes decision-making and kills appreciation. Every time you swipe, your brain releases a microhit of dopamine, rewarding the possibility of someone better. The problem? That constant stimulation trains you to value anticipation over connection. You become addicted to potential. The moment reality replaces fantasy, the chemical high drops, and so does your interest. This isn't modern shallowness, it's cognitive fatigue. Too many options trigger anxiety, self-doubt, and fear of settling. Research by psychologist Barry Schwartz found that people offered fewer choices, feel happier, and more committed to their decisions. In relationships, this translates to depth over volume. The illusion of infinite availability erodes gratitude. We start comparing instead of connecting. Every flaw becomes a filter, every imperfection a reason to keep swiping. The paradox is that love thrives on focus. The more attention you invest in one person, the richer the emotional return. Desire matures when curiosity replaces evaluation, when you stop asking, "Can I do better?" and start asking, "What more can I discover here?" Abundance distracts. Attention bonds. Stop shopping for perfection and start studying presence. Real intimacy begins when you close the app and open your awareness. The attachment trap. You wake up, reach for your phone, and feel a pit in your stomach because they haven't texted back. Logic says it's early. Emotion says you're losing them. That's not love. It's the attachment trap. The brain confuses emotional dependency with connection, turning love into a need instead of a choice. In the early stages of romance, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, creates a deep sense of closeness. But when that bond meets insecurity, it mutates into anxiety. You start scanning for signs of withdrawal, replaying conversations, overanalyzing silences. What began as affection becomes survival. That's why people say, "I can't live without them." It's not poetic, it's neurological. Your nervous system has linked emotional safety to one specific person. Psychologist Amir Levine describes this as the activation of the attachment system. For securely attached individuals, that system calms with reassurance. For those with anxious or avoidant patterns, it goes into overdrive, swinging between clinging and withdrawal. This dance of pursuit and distance can trap both partners in cycles of anxiety and guilt. But awareness is freedom. Recognizing when love becomes dependency lets you reclaim emotional autonomy. Healthy attachment doesn't erase individuality, it celebrates it. True connection says, "I want you," not "I need you." Attachment anchors love, but dependency drowns it. When your peace depends on someone's presence, pause. Love should expand your world, not shrink it around one person. You tell yourself you'll leave this time. Then they apologize, say the right words, and that fragile hope pulls you back in. You're not weak, you're trauma bonded. It's the most deceptive form of attachment because it mimics passion while feeding on pain. A trauma bond forms when intermittent reinforcement, cycles of affection and neglect, creates emotional addiction. You learn to crave the highs that follow the lows, mistaking relief for love. Each reconciliation floods the brain with dopamine and oxytocin, the same reward chemicals that reinforce addiction. Over time, you stop chasing happiness and start chasing less pain. Psychologist Patrick Carnes, who coined the term trauma bond, explains that this dynamic traps people not through logic, but through hope. The hope that the abuser will change, that this time will be different, becomes the drug. Meanwhile, the nervous system normalizes chaos. So peace feels suspicious and distance feels like withdrawal. The most painful truth? Breaking a trauma bond feels worse before it feels better. Detachment triggers real withdrawal symptoms, shaking, insomnia, intrusive thoughts, because the body has linked love with stress hormones. But healing begins with abstinence, cutting off the cycle of re-exposure, replacing the chemical rush with regulated calm. Supportive friendships, therapy, journaling, all help the brain rewire towards safety. You weren't addicted to them, you were addicted to relief. Stop chasing closure from chaos. Healing isn't reunion, it's recovery. The love you deserve won't require you to suffer first. The role of fantasy. Why do we fall for the idea of someone faster than the person themselves? because fantasy always arrives before reality. From the moment attraction sparks, your brain starts filling in blanks, constructing a perfect version of the person who caught your attention. You project hopes, traits, and ideals onto them, crafting a story that feels true long before it's tested. This is called the halo effect, a psychological bias where one positive impression overshadows everything else. If they're charming, you assume they're kind. If they're passionate, you imagine loyalty. You fall in love not with who they are, but with who you believe they could be. Fantasy becomes emotional gravity. The danger is that idealization blinds you to incompatibility. You ignore mismatched values, red flags, or emotional unavailability because the story feels too beautiful to question. And when reality inevitably shows up, you don't mourn the person, you mourn the illusion. That's why heartbreak can feel so disorienting. It's grief for a dream. Psychologist Robert Johnson once wrote, "We fall in love through projection. We stay in love when we remove it. Mature love begins when fantasy collapses, when you meet the person behind the projection and decide to love them as they are. That's the transition from dopamine-driven excitement to oxytocin-driven connection. Fantasy flatters desire, reality reveals love." Notice when you're idealizing someone. Ask, am I in love with them or with the way they make me feel? Awareness shifts infatuation into intimacy.